Hi students, welcome to the science class. In last session, we discussed in the chapter of microorganisms in friend and foe, we discussed some of the diseases caused by the microorganisms in humans, isn't it? That diseases like malaria, hepatitis A, that diseases are caused by some microorganisms, and also corona. So some of the diseases we shall discuss in your last session. So in this session, we are going to study about some of the microorganisms causes diseases in the plants. What are that diseases? Which microorganism going to cause a disease in plants, and what are the effects of that diseases? That shall be study in this class. And also in this class, we are going to study about under some effects of the microorganisms on the human body. What their causes? That's also study in this chapter and in this session about the food poisoning and what are the food preservation steps we are going to take. Okay, so now let us study one by one. First, I am going to discuss here the disease causing microorganisms in plants. The disease causing microorganisms in plants. See here, what are the diseases caused by the microorganisms in plants? First, I am taking here citrus canker. The name itself tells citrus canker. This is one of the disease caused in citrus fruits like lemon, orange. Have got understood? The fruit which has the citrus, that fruits are called as a citrus fruits. This citrus canker is caused in the diseases called as citrus plants. So one of the example I am taking here is a lemon plant. This citrus canker caused by the microorganism called bacteria. What is the name of that bacteria? It is Xanthomonas. The one of the bacteria called as the Xanthomonas, which causes citrus canker in a lemon plant. What are the characters of that citrus canker? What are the characters? So when you are going to see the lemon plant, on the lemons some black color, brown color patches are present on the lemon or on the leaves of the lemon plant. So that is caused by the bacteria called Xanthomonas, and the disease is called citrus canker. So what is the mode of transmission? So this disease will be transmitted by the mode air. So this bacteria uses the medium as the air to transfer the disease from one plant to the another plant. Have you got understood? So one of the plant disease here I am discussing the citrus canker, which is caused by the bacteria called Xanthomonas. This disease will be seen in the citrus plants. So in which mode it is used to transfer the disease from one plant to another plant? It is by the air. It uses the air as a medium to transfer the disease from one plant to another plant. And another one disease I am discussing here, rust of wheat. The rust of wheat. See here, rust of wheat. It is one of the disease caused in wheat, barley like plants. So which microorganism causes this disease? And this disease is caused by a microorganism called fungi. It is a fungal disease which we are going to see in a rust of wheat. That is named as a rust of wheat. In the wheat plants, barley plants, we are going to see the rust of wheat. So what it causes? It will be decreases the yeast. Have you got understood? It will be decreases the yield. Sorry, not yeast. It decreases the yield of the wheat. Have you got understood? So it will be caused by the microorganism fungi. What are the characteristics of this rust of wheat? So small brown color dots were present on the leaves. Have you got understood? If the brown color dots present on the leaf of a wheat or a leaf of a barley, we are going to say that plant will be caused by a disease called rust of wheat. Have you got understood? So it is that plant will be infected by the disease called a rust of wheat. This rust of wheat, the disease rust of wheat will be caused in also barley. But what is the mode of transaction, or what is the mode of transmission here? This disease rust of wheat uses again air and seeds, and also it transfers the diseases from the seeds. So when we are going to use the seeds to grow the wheat or barley. The seeds which are infected by the rust of wheat disease causes, again it will be continually causes in the new next generation or next plantation. So the mode of transmission of this disease is by the air. It uses the medium as air to transfer the disease from one plant to another plant. And under one plant disease caused by the microorganism is here yellow vein mosaic of bindi. Yellow vein mosaic of bindi is another one plant disease caused by the microorganism virus. It is an viral diseases which may comes in plants. So as viral diseases comes in human beings, that also in that type also some of the viral diseases will be attacked to the infected to the plants. That one of the disease caused by the virus is nothing but yellow vein mosaic of bindi. That will be, we are going to see that diseases in okra plants. Which plants? Okra plants. What is the mode of transmission here? This virus uses insects as the mode of transmission. By the insects it will be spread towards all the okra plants. Have you got understood? It uses the medium as the insects. So when the one insect going to be sit on the infected plant, that is the infected plant by the yellow vein mosaic of bindi, it will be transmitted by that insect to the another plant. So this is going to be used the insects as the mode of transmission as a medium. Have you got understood? So these are the main important plant diseases which we are going to see. They are caused by the microorganisms. But how we are going to prevent these diseases? These diseases are controlled by using some of the chemicals and pesticides. Yeah, so in agricultural field, the farmer used to spray some of the chemicals. Why? Because he know that the cultivated field, thus that the plant will be caused by some diseases. To avoid diseases, he is going to use some chemicals and pesticides. Have you got understood? So to prevent these diseases, we are going to use some of the chemicals and also pesticides. Next we are going to see here the microorganisms also causes food poisoning. Have you heard the word food poisoning? So when you are going to attend any party of your friends, but any birthday party of your friends, sometimes it happens. So food poisoning will be happen, the stomach will paining. Some of the diseases will comes when you are going to attend the birthday party for long period of time. What happens there? What happens here? What is food poisoning? Food poisoning, what causes the food poisoning? The food poisoning will be caused by the some of the microorganisms called bacteria. Microorganisms that grow on our food sometimes produces a toxic substance. As you know already, our food materials produces some of the microorganisms. On the food material, some of the microorganisms grows, but sometimes these microorganisms, some of the bacteria, they are going to produce some of the chemicals, toxic acids or toxic chemicals. That toxic chemicals are very harmful to our body. When we are going to eat that food material which the toxic chemicals were produced by the bacteria, causes food poisoning. This food poisoning also causes severe diseases. It will may cause a death also. So we have to how we are going to prevent this food poisoning? By preserving the food, we are going to prevent the food poisoning. But what are the preservative steps here? How we are going to preserve a food? That is under the food preservation. So this food poisoning will be prevented by food preservation. What are the steps? What is meant by the preservation? So see here, the food preservation, it is nothing but we are going to keep the food very safely. Have you got understood? The preservation means we are going to prevent the growth of microorganisms. Why? Because have you know already, the food poisoning will be due to the chemicals produced by the bacteria which grows on the food. Have you got understood? Some of the toxic chemicals produced by the bacteria which will be grown on the food material. But once we prevent the prevent the growth of bacteria. Once we prevent the growth of bacteria, there will be no toxic chemicals. If there is no toxic chemicals, then there is no food poisoning. So how we are going to prevent the food, how we are going to preserve the food materials? See here. First one method is a chemical method. We are going to use a chemical method to preserve food material. Remember that if you are going to put the mangoes, ripened mangoes for 3 to 4 days or for 1 week, if you put the ripened mangoes for a long time, what happens? The mangoes becomes spoiled, rotten. Have you got understood? It becomes rotten. So but you have to see here, your grandmother going to be make some pickles of mangoes, some raw, she is going to use some raw mangoes to make pickles. She prevent that pickles for a long time, but they are not going to be rotten, they are not going to be spoiled. But how it is some confusion here, isn't it? But you have to see keen observely when the grandmother going to be make a pickles, she is going to use some of the substances with that pickles. What are there? They are nothing but the salt, isn't it? She is going to use some salt, and also she is going to use oil, vegetable oil or edible oil, and also she is going to use some turmeric powder. So that are the preservatives used by our grandmothers to prevent the pickles from by the spoiling for a long period of time. That is nothing but one of the food preservation method we are going to learn from our ancestors, isn't it? Our grandmother, do you know our grandmother doesn't know anything about science, isn't it? She may go or may not go to the school, but how they can going to find about the preservation? She know already. She is going to use some of the ingredients to prevent the food material by food poisoning for a long period of time by using some ingredients, isn't it? So now we are going to see one by one steps about preservation, how we are going to preserve the food material by the spoiling. See, listen here. First method is by the chemical method. So in the chemical methods, the chemicals which we are going to use to prevent the food by poisoning are going to be called it as a preservatives. Why? Because it is a food preservation method, isn't it? So chemicals which we are going to use to preserve food are called it as a food preservatives. I got understood. One of the chemical which is used for the preservation of food here is sodium benzoate. Sodium benzoate and a sodium metabisulfate. These are the two chemicals used in preservation of the food. I got understood. Under the chemical method, the two chemicals are going to be used for the preservation of the food. Those are sodium benzoate and sodium metabisulfate. So in which foods we are going to use? In the jams, squashes. So you can see on the label of the jams packet or on the label of the jams bottle, in the ingredients these two chemicals are present. Why they are going to use these two chemicals? To preserve the food for a long time, have you got understood? So these are the two chemicals we are going to use in the food preservations, that are sodium benzoate and a sodium metabisulfate. We are going to use these two chemicals in the preservation of jams and squashes. And another one method we are going to use to preserve the food is by using the common salt. See, when you are going to see in the market, when you are going to buy the fishes, so fish, the seller man, he or she will be applied some salt on the fish. Why he is going to apply the salt? Because salt is the one of the preservative material which we are going to use the food to preserve the food. So common salt, it is used in the meat, fish, amla and mangoes. To preserve these foods like meat, fish, amla for a long time, we are going to use the salt. So what help it? The salt contains some sodium components that will be helpful to preserve the food, that will be helpful to prevent the growth of the microorganism on the food material and prevents the spoiling of the food and the rotten of the food. Have you got understood? So preserve the food, we are going to use another one method here is common salt. It is a very oldest method we we are going to use. And another one is here by the sugar. We are going to use some sugars, we are going to add some sugars to the food material, or we are going to apply some sugars to the food material. Why? Because this sugar reduces the moisture. So one of the important environmental condition to grow the microorganisms, or the for which will helpful for the growth of the microorganism, it is nothing but the moisture. If there is a more moisture, there is a more growth of the microorganism. So when we are going to add the sugar, when we are going to apply the sugar, it reduces the moisture. When there is, where there is a no moisture, there is a no growth of the microorganisms, there is a less growth of the microorganisms, and it will be prevents, then it will be not causes any effects on the food material, and the food becomes it becomes not spoiled. I got understood. Another one methods we are going to use to preserve a food is by applying the sugar. So in the preparation of jams and jellies and pastes, we are going to use sugar to prevent the food for the long time. And another one method is oil and vinegar. So another one method we are going to use to preserve the food material by oil and vinegar. So as I told already, in the preparation of the mango pickles or the lemon pickles, our grandmother she is going to use some edible oil or a vegetable oil, because it will be helpful for the prevention of the food, and it doesn't provides the required environment to grow the microorganisms on the food material, and that will be uses to prevent the food material for the long period of time. So we are going to use oil and vinegar. Vinegar, it is also used in the so what we are going to call it is also vinegar, it is used in the so sweets which we are going to find in our sweet marts, isn't it? So vinegar is also used. Why? Because it also prevents the food by ripening or by spoiling it, and it will be prevents the food material, and it is one of the food preservatives we are going to use. And another one is heat and cold treatment. Heat and cold treatment, it is nothing but the pasteurization. I got understood. Pasteurization. What is pasteurization? Pasteurization, it is one of the method. It will be discovered by a scientist called Louis Pasteur. What is pasteurization here? The pasteurization is nothing but the substance or the food material will be going to be heated about 70 degrees Celsius about to 15 to 30 seconds. I got understood. For example, I am taking here milk. The milk will be going to be heated about 70 degrees Celsius about time about 15 to 30 seconds, and suddenly it will be chilled up and packed. I got understood. When we are going to heat the food material, the some of the microorganisms which present in the material going to be died due to the high heat. I got understood. They are going to be demolished by the heat. So therefore, and the environment, due to the more heat, it doesn't provides a good environment to grow the microorganisms. I got understood. So that will be helpful in the pasteurization. If you if you cleanly observe the milk pocket, there is one sentence is there, pasteurized milk, isn't it? What is that? Is the pasteurization process will be used in the milk. That's why the milk will becomes for the 2 or 3 days, that the milk that doesn't get spoiled due to the pasteurization process. It is also one of the useful process we are going to use in the preservation of the food. I got understood. And another one is here is storage and packing. See, when you are going to eat the chips, if you are going to buy the chips from the store, the chips pocket contains some of the air. It is nothing but some of the gases. That gases prevents that food material by spoiling or by rotting. Have you got understood? It is another one important method to preserve the food material, that is by the storage and the packing, tightly packaged. For example, nowadays all the vegetables and fruits are going to be packed in a tight plastic cover, isn't it? So that tight plastic cover doesn't allow the oxygen, or that doesn't allow the air to go on it. So that will be helpful to prevent the growth of the microorganisms, and also it will be preserves the food, that is the fruit or the vegetable. So see, the storage and packing is the another one method we are going to use to preserve the food materials. Have you got understood? So these are all about the causes, the diseases or the effects of the microorganisms on our body and also plants. So one of the use of the microorganism, it is nothing but a nitrogen fixing or a nitrogen cycle. So what is the use of the microorganisms in the nitrogen fixing? See here, our environment has about 78% of the nitrogen gas, but it doesn't utilized by our plants, because plants doesn't has the capacity to absorb the nitrogen which is present in our environment. But nitrogen, it is one of the most important component to produce the food material, or it is utilized by the plants. It is a very important product for the plant. So how the plants are going to get the nitrogen? But by the using of the microorganisms. So I am going to explain here the nitrogen cycle, how the nitrogen will be recycled by the microorganisms, and how the microorganisms are going to be helpful to provide the nitrogen to the plants. See, the atmospheric nitrogen, atmosphere contains about 78% of the nitrogen. By the lightning process, some of the nitrogen will be comes towards the earth surface, or it will be mixed up with the soil, and that nitrogen will be utilized by the some of the microorganisms and convert it into a nitrogenous compound. So that nitrogen will be converted into nitrogenous compounds in the soil. I got understood. And another one method here, the atmospheric nitrogen will be converted into the nitrogenous compound by means here nitrogen fixing by the bacteria fix atmospheric nitrogen. Have you got understood? By the use of the rhizobium bacterium, one of the bacterium which is used in the process of nitrogen fixing. That bacteria going to be fixes the nitrogen, it going to be absorbs the nitrogen which is present on the atmosphere. In that bacteria, that will turns nitrogenous compound, and that rhizobium bacteria going to be absorbs the nitrogen which is present in the environment and converts into that nitrogenous compound, that returns that nitrogenous compound again to the soil. So here, see here, the nitrogenous compound will be absorbed by the plants. You have to clearly observe here, plants doesn't has the capacity to absorb the nitrogen as directly. It will be take the nitrogen in the form of a compound, nitrogenous compound, but the nitrogenous compound, it is not ready in the atmosphere or the environment. That nitrogenous compound will be formed, that the nitrogen will be converted into nitrogenous compound by the microorganisms, by the bacteria. See, in a two way, the nitrogen which is present in the atmosphere will be get converted into nitrogenous compound, and that will be stored in the soil in the two ways. One is by the lightning process and another one is by the bacteria. In this process, the bacteria it is one of the microorganism. The bacteria, it is nothing but the rhizobium which will be utilized here to fix the nitrogen, that will be converted into nitrogenous compound. When the nitrogen will be converted into nitrogenous compound, that will be absorbed by the plant, that is uptake by the plants. The plants are going to be absorb that nitrogenous compound which is present in the soil, and again it will be that nitrogenous compounds. The plant has this nitrogenous compound. The animals which are dependent on the plant's products, the plant's products contains that nitrogenous compounds. Animals are going to eat that plants, and the nitrogenous compounds that will be comes into the animal's body, and in the excretion process of the animal, and after the death of the animal, that again that nitrogenous compounds moves towards the soil. Have you got understood? When the dead animals are going to be dead organisms are going to be kept in the soil, that body will be removes the nitrogen towards the soil, that as the nitrogenous compound, and again this nitrogenous compound will be converted into nitrogen gas by the bacteria. See, bacteria turns the nitrogenous compounds into the nitrogen gas. Again that nitrogen gas will be comes towards atmosphere, and the percentage of the nitrogen gas in the atmosphere again will be balanced. Have you got understood? This is the one of the nitrogenous cycle which will be cyclized by the use of the bacteria. It is one of the most important use of the bacteria here in the nitrogen fixing. So this is all about the chapter microorganisms, friend and foe. In this chapter you have studied about what are the uses of the microorganisms and what are the harmful activities or the harmness of the microorganisms to us and also to the plants. Have you got understood? So in the next class we are going to study about our next lesson. Thank you.